All right, it's 1st of May 2021. When was the last time I uploaded the journal? It is 22nd of March, so more than a month. It's like 40 days since I've last uploaded a journal. Lot of things happened during this time. Lot of things. Lots of ups, lots of downs, and lot of chaos, lot of stuff. I mean, somebody who is gonna listen to this in future, maybe like 2025 or maybe 2030, or maybe if my own kid is listening to this when she grows up, I don't know if she'll be able to really relate all those chaos that we are currently going through. It's an ongoing process. All the chaos that we are currently going through this whole last year and this year seems to be even more terrible than what it was last year. The COVID is back, and it's back with a very big bang this time around. The second wave seems to be very, very disastrous. It's not really that COVID that kept me away from recording anything. I was kind of refraining myself from doing like weekly or anything. I just wanted a very small break. I didn't know that the break will end up being a 40-day break. The whole intent was to, I mean, end of March was like kind of like the signaling. Like, if you really recall, March of 2020 is when this whole COVID thing started. The lockdown happened, the new normal started, work from home, and everything. I thought like I'll kind of like take a break after that. Our last upload on 22nd of March 2021, and I thought that it would be like a week or two of break and I'll be back again in April, hoping that things would slowly but steadily change on a positive way. But it kind of changed drastically in a negative way. The second wave of COVID is affecting every single individual in one or the other way. The outcomes are like very disastrous. A lot of people suffering, a lot of people struggling to get medicines, a lot of people struggling to get beds in hospital, a lot of people struggling to get the vaccination. And I know it's become a very, very big nightmare for like quite literally everyone. And it's not just the people who have their family members who are affected by this. Even people like you and me and everyone, like, it's like listening to this whole thing, like whole trauma, day in and day out, morning to evening, every single channel, be it on social media, be it when you're talking to people in person on, or talking to people on phone in office, and news everywhere. It's just news of death, suffering, struggle, and all those stuff. I just like, I didn't wanted to come and sit and record something and tell that this is the pain that is the world is going through, this is the mental trauma that we are going through, and all those stuff. I didn't even think about coming back and doing something like this, what I'm doing now. But in the end, over the last 1 week, more so specifically, I had to gain a little bit of courage and told like, okay, I need to draw a line. I need to draw a line wherein I tell what is that I'll concentrate on, what is that is required, what is that it is not required, what is a priority, what is not a priority, and what matters to me the most. And that's exactly the reason why I'm back again, and back recording this journal. Coughed a couple of times, and that's one of the update that I wanted to give. Around mid of April is when a little bit of things hit me hard. Like, one is my kid was down with cold and cough for a couple of days, but I don't know how and why things got transferred back to me. I suffered for almost 2 weeks. Thankfully, touch wood, it was not COVID. The symptoms did not match. I just had like a very severe cough. When I say very severe, it was like a cough that like literally ruined my days and nights, like anything. And that treatment kind of like led the way to cold. And I mean, it was a reverse flow. Typically, you get cold and then that converts into cough and all this stuff. But here it was other way around. The cough led to cold, and that 1 week was like really. We don't know whether it is COVID, whether it is good, not good, whether I should isolate, whether I should go to hospital, get tested, and all those things. Thankfully, no fever. Thankfully, no other breathing issues or anything. It was just cough, but took enough antibiotics to make sure that just kick out all those virus away from the body. Took few days off from office as well so that I get enough rest for my body, because again mind was literally screwed up. The reason being, um, around first week of April, dad lost one of his cousin brothers. It was a really kind of like a very strange incident that happened. Like dad had traveled to native, had gone alone. I couldn't accompany him due to work here, but he went all the way up to their house, but he didn't go into the house because like he wanted to rush back home, because like he was there since morning, and he does not prefer eating or drinking anything outside when he's traveling. So he wanted to come back, but he ended up meeting his cousin's wife outside the house, and he said hi and everything, and he came back home. Dad finished his lunch, and he just went to the bedroom, and he got a call telling that his cousin has passed away. That person, he had just finished his lunch, came out and sat in the veranda or portico, like he got a massive heart attack and he passed away. It was really devastating. Like dad went all the way to their house. He couldn't see him when everything was fine, but he gets the news. So next day again they had to go back, and all those things happened. This also mean that because of some uh, kind of, I would say, religious stuff and all those things, we were not supposed to celebrate the Yugadi festival, which was in the middle of the month. But while we were at this, the day previous to Yugadi, that was a Monday, I was out doing my walking in my usual place, and I suddenly got, and I was doing like kind of like an extended walk, because I this was before I fell sick. So I felt like okay, I'd become a little bit rusty, and I just wanted to do some little bit of extra walk. And I was doing the walk, and suddenly I get a call from my dad telling that come home soon. I like, what happened? Then I got to hear that my wife's grandmom had passed away on Monday. This was the day before the festival, and I come home and I get to hear, like, I just to try to inquire what happened, and I realized that she was all fine, she was all perfect, she was at home, and my wife had actually grew up with her grandmom, like she had stayed with her all throughout her life. So she had finished her evening course, and she had just washed her face, went back to the room, and she sat on the bed and she collapsed, and she too um, passed away because of a massive heart attack. Uh, I mean, the situation was so bad, like two back to back news like this on 2 weeks was like not something which you could digest. Uh, Took my wife and my kid to their house on Monday evening, rather Monday night. Spent a little bit of time. Thought like we'll go back next day for the cremation and all those things. Came back, but that's exactly was a triggering point for my um, health thing. And by Tuesday morning, I was in a very bad shape, and I couldn't even take my parents and my wife to the funeral thing, and that kept on bothering me a lot. Like, I mean, I wanted to go, I wanted to take them and all those things, but my health was not allowing me to even like go out. It was so bad. Like, so they just took a decision to go in a cab. Like, they just left me alone at home. They went in a cab, they finished everything, they came back. But again, I took the next 3 to 4 days to recover properly, and that's exactly when the cases were like exponentially rising everywhere in our country, and more so specifically in Bangalore. I mean, even as of last night, the cases are like increasing by like twofold and things like that. The deaths are increasing. I seriously don't want to talk much about the COVID related things, because that's one of the reason why I wanted to stay away from doing all this stuff, and that's one of the reason I want to take a break from all this social media and news and all those things. So that's one kind of a decision that I've taken, which is as of yesterday, which is 30th of April. I've decided that I will stay away from WhatsApp, Twitter, Instagram, and any social media stuff uh, for whatever foreseeable future. It could be a week, month, or maybe several months. I don't know, but I uninstalled all the apps from my phone so that I don't get to see all the pain and trouble that people are going through. It's not that I want to avoid, but that kind of it's leaving kind of like negative vibes in my mind, and it's giving me like sleepless nights and not getting sleep, and that inability to help people and make something happen is making me feel more guilty about what's happening. So as of yesterday, I've decided that I'll stay away from everything. Probably only two things related to internet that I'll be sticking on to. One is YouTube, because I want to learn something new, do something new, and definitely not waste my time sitting and watching vlogs and other, probably I would call it as useless video. I've been spending a way too much of time, uh, wasting way too much of time sitting in front of phones and system and watching all this Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. But I want to spend it more constructively in the coming weeks or months, and hence I want to probably have YouTube. And this is exactly a means wherein I can communicate and most specifically record these journals for my future reference. And the other thing being Signal, which is a messenger app. That is something which I wanted to have because I wanted to, I mean, that's the only source, last source of communication I can have with my sister who is on the other side of the world. So that's something which I'm sticking to now. Things haven't been really that great when it comes to office as well. Mid of April was when the uh, hike cycle was formally announced. Done all the processing in the beginning of April, but kind of communicated this to people. Uh, some people were okay, some people were not okay. The people who are not okay, some people voiced their opinion or um, kind of like telling like they expected more or they were expected something different. But situation is like that, we can't help it, and it's not something which I'm giving from my pocket. And even if I was giving, it all depends on the resource as well. But communicating that was the first time for me, kind of like a little bit challenging, a little bit difficult, but still managed to do it. But situation with the team is really awful. Like people are like, it's kind of like creating in a kind of like an indifference has got up popped up in the team, wherein the tech lead and the senior tech lead, they are having some kind of like a formally what I would call like a eco clash, and that kind of like is becoming very evident. Now things are becoming even more bad because the senior tech lead is kind of taking over my job also in the team, and he's trying to drive things without giving me any kind of like power or respect. And that kind of pissed me off last week, on Thursday to be very specific. And I've just actually kept myself cool, and I've just stayed away from talking to people or doing anything around that since last Thursday. I attended a team meeting yesterday, but I refrained myself from voluntarily talking too much or doing anything there. So again, I going forward, I don't want to talk too much about the office stuff because you know it is rubbish and you know it is shit. So I just want to stop talking about it, stop thinking about it. And the biggest agenda going forward is to do something more constructive, be it learning, be it doing anything. It's been what, like a year since I've been talking about some new projects and all those things, and have done zero progress on it, and I'm terribly, terribly guilty about it. So the idea is to see, like, now that I've got myself detached from all this social media stuff, I just want to see if I can utilize this time to build something, do something which can be of some use in future. Again, this will also lead to me learning something new as well. So that's the whole attempt that will be made. And in April, again, I had started off the work, at least the research work towards the renovation in my house, more so specifically the kitchen. But it's exactly on the day when I started the actual research that the very next day I fell ill, and that couldn't make any progress. But quite a bit of discussions have been done, the estimates have been taken, but due to COVID and due to lockdown now, which I didn't mention, everything is stopped at least until mid of May. So I'm hoping that when things open up, and that's something which I'll give priority to. So learning, doing something new, renovating things at home, and probably think of something about my bike because I'm not traveling much. Kind of thinking of getting rid of my bike because it's been idle since weeks, and that's been the case since last 1 year. I hardly take it out once in a while, so thinking about that as well. But probably I'll come back and tell what is the decision that I have made. So until then, I think this is quite lengthy already, so I'll catch up sometime next week.